Breaking news, and for millions of Canadian seniors, it may be the lifeline they've been waiting for. In an announcement that has already sent shockwaves across households from Vancouver Island to Newfoundland, the Canada Revenue Agency has quietly confirmed that starting next month, seniors receiving the Canada Pension Plan could see an extra $2,400 a year, that's $200 a month, money that for some will mean the difference between skipping meals and living with dignity. For years, seniors have warned Ottawa that the cost of living is no longer just creeping higher, it's sprinting out of reach. A loaf of bread that once cost $2.49 now pushes past $4. Fresh vegetables, prescription medication, heating bills in the dead of winter, the basics of life are stretching household budgets beyond their limits. And the people hardest hit are not Canada's wealthiest, but the very men and women who spent decades paying into the system, trusting that when their working years ended, the CPP would be there for them. This new boost, sources say, is designed to take effect as early as October 15, just as inflation-weary households brace for another winter of high heating oil, gas, and grocery prices. If confirmed, it would represent one of the most significant increases to retirement income in over a decade. And the timing? Some say it's no coincidence. With the federal government facing mounting criticism from opposition parties and from premiers demanding more support for aging populations, Ottawa needed to act, and act fast. But how did we get here? The Canada Pension Plan has long been a cornerstone of retirement in this country. Seniors today contributed faithfully, month after month, year after year, under the promise that their pensions would give them security. Yet security is a word that feels increasingly out of reach. The average CPP retirement benefit sits at around $772 per month, far less than the cost of a one-bedroom apartment in most Canadian cities. Add groceries, electricity, phone bills, and medications, and the math simply doesn't work. According to a recent survey, nearly 48% of seniors report skipping essentials at least once a month to make ends meet. Stories are pouring in. Take Margaret, a 74-year-old widow in Hamilton, who has lived in the same modest bungalow for nearly 40 years. She describes sitting at her kitchen table late at night with her bills spread out, whispering to herself, "Do I pay for my blood pressure medication, or do I buy groceries for the week?" For Margaret, $200 a month is not just extra money. It's security. It's groceries in the fridge, a few more liters of heating oil for winter, and the ability to say yes to her grandchildren when they ask if she can join them for a Sunday lunch. Or consider Michael and Linda, a retired couple in Regina. Together, their CPP benefits total just under $1,550 per month. After rent and utilities, they're left with $420. And that has to cover groceries, transportation, and health costs. Michael puts it bluntly, "We don't go to restaurants, we don't travel, we don't buy anything new. We just survive." An additional $200 a month, for them, means survival doesn't have to feel like deprivation. Yet, as with any major policy change, the announcement has its critics. Economists are already warning that injecting billions into seniors' pockets could add fuel to inflation, raising prices further for everyone. Conservative MPs accuse the government of vote buying with seniors' money, while the New Democratic Party insists the boost, while welcome, is not nearly enough given the scale of need. Some premiers are pressing Ottawa to make the increase permanent, while others argue it should be tied to regional cost of living indexes, since $200 means something very different in downtown Toronto than it does in small-town Saskatchewan. And then, of course, there is the question of sustainability. The CPP is funded by contributions from today's workers, and Canada's population is aging fast. By 2030, nearly 1 in 4 Canadians will be over 65. Will the system bear the weight of bigger payouts? Government officials insist that the CPP remains among the most stable public pension systems in the world, but skeptics are not convinced. What we do know is this: the first wave of payments could arrive in bank accounts starting next month. That means seniors could see the deposit, an additional $200, as soon as their October payment cycles begin. For many, that's in just a matter of weeks. Already, anticipation is spreading. Seniors organizations are hailing it as a long overdue recognition of the sacrifices made by those who built the country's roads, staffed its hospitals, taught its children, and fueled its industries. Advocacy groups are quick to remind Canadians that this is not charity, it's the return on decades of contribution. And perhaps that's why the emotional impact of this decision feels so profound. It's not just about money, it's about dignity. About finally telling seniors, we see you. We hear you. And we know you've been struggling. Still, as much as this increase is being celebrated, it also forces us to confront a larger, uncomfortable truth: the Canadian retirement system has been strained for years. Private pensions are disappearing. Savings are being eroded by inflation. And housing costs are swallowing entire incomes. This $2,400 boost may ease the pressure, but for many, it will not erase the burden. That tension between relief and realism is shaping the debate tonight. Supporters see the measure as a step in the right direction, a necessary correction in a time of crisis. Critics warn it's a bandage, not a cure, and that unless Canada takes bold steps to rethink retirement security, seniors will continue to be left behind. But for Margaret in Hamilton, for Michael and Linda in Regina, and for millions like them, the next deposit may be the first time in years they feel they can breathe a little easier. The choice between medicine and food, rent and heat, may not disappear, but it will become just a little less impossible. But behind the celebration, there's another layer of this story that few are talking about: the ripple effect this boost could have on families across generations. Because while the CPP is technically for seniors, its impact extends far beyond them. When a grandmother no longer has to borrow money from her children to cover rent, that family suddenly has breathing room. When a retired father can pay for his own medications instead of leaning on his adult daughter, that daughter can finally put money aside for her kids' education or her own mortgage. In a country where nearly 1 in 3 families supports an aging relative financially, the $200 monthly boost doesn't just stabilize seniors, it strengthens entire households. There's also a psychological effect. Seniors who once felt like a forgotten demographic now sense they are being recognized. Advocacy groups describe this as restoring dignity, but it's more than symbolic. A senior who can afford bus fare to attend a community center, or who can pay the rising hydro bill without panic, is not just surviving, they're rejoining society with confidence. Critics may argue the government is spending recklessly, but for many Canadians, this is not reckless. It's respect. The open question now is whether this is the first step in a broader rethinking of retirement, or simply a short-term concession in a turbulent political climate. So as Canadians look ahead to next month, one question remains: is this a turning point, or simply a temporary reprieve? What we know for certain is that in living rooms across the country tonight, seniors are checking their calendars, counting the days, and daring to hope. Hope that dignity in retirement is not a dream but a right. And when those first payments land, it won't just be dollars in a bank account. It will be a message that after decades of building this country, Canada is finally giving something back. Because sometimes, good news for seniors is good news for all of us.